we're on our next keynote, which is on how to build an AI-powered organization. Well, we're joined by the Senior Director, Data and AI Solutions Sales, Microsoft APAC, Mr. Karthikeyan Rajasekharan. Well, Mr. Karthikeyan has 22 years of experience in large-scale data analytic applications in BFSI and the supply chain industry. He's somebody who's held several leadership roles in APAC at Google, Salesforce, and Sopra Group. Thank you so much, Karthik, for joining us and giving us your valuable time today at the World AI Show, Jakarta. With this, on behalf of TressCon Global, I welcome you, and over to you.
Thank you very much, Bhavna. I'm going to quickly share my screen here and tell me when that's good to go. Can you see my screen? I think you're good. Hey, good afternoon, everyone.
We're not able to see your screen. I'm so sorry. Apologies.
How about now?
Yes, now perfect. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Karthik, and I really appreciate you taking the time today. And in the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to talk to you about how does one think about building an organization powered by the transformative technology that is artificial intelligence. Microsoft as a company has been pursuing AI, not just to beat humans at games, but we've been pursuing AI so that we can empower every person and every organization to be able to build tools that make and increase everyone's potential, right? And we do that with an intention of solving the most pressing problems of both our society and our economies. But all organizations would like to take advantage of that capability and make this very real, right? And we've been doing this for over 29 years at Microsoft, and innovation has been a key part of our culture. And we have been spending an enormous amount of time. We have several different research centers, and we have been researching the leading applications of artificial intelligence, be that in algorithms, AI and ML, audio and acoustics, computer vision, human-computer interaction, and the like, to really bring that to the forefront. And that innovation that we have been driving has been fueling a whole range of near human performance in most of the tasks that previously were thought to be unachievable. For example, in object recognition, in the MHK1net, the ResNet that Microsoft Research built back in 2016 gave us the highest accuracy. In speech, we are almost close to human parity, and in reading comprehension, which we have achieved near human parity on the Stanford question answering data set and the like. Now, all of this is really great news, and it's allowing us to think about how do we use AI in very targeted and very focused use cases and to aid and augment human performance. So why do we think about that now, right? For solving some of today's challenge is about managing risk and squeezing as much efficiency as we can out of our existing processes, right? But it is also a huge catalyst for change. As the world emerges, both AI and machine learning are at the forefront of helping organizations to safeguard business continuity as they move through recovery with an eye to how they would reimagine their businesses to create more value, right? And at Microsoft, we're committed to helping organizations do that. So let's talk about what then are the dimensions of what an AI-powered organization look like. Broadly, we can think of this in three different terms. One is making decisions in new ways based on insights from larger sets of data that fuel productive, predictive, and more accurate results. Right? So that's on the productive insights bit. And that is often the one that gets most of the press, etc. But there are two other aspects to building an AI-powered organization that are equally important, right? And those are the notions of having an AI-ready culture and the notion of making sure that AI empowers everyone, not just the technical teams, but those closest to the business and augments the way they think about it. Making sure we tackle the challenge of creating an AI-powered organization across those three dimensions is absolutely critical. And we have been doing this with a whole range of customers, and we've been bringing these trends together. And here is a sample of the kind of customers we have been working with. For example, at ABB, we improved the effectiveness of field service technicians and field productivity by 15 to 20% by combining what we call Azure Cognitive Services with Azure Bot Services for hands-free interaction and faster workflow. Again, not necessarily replacing the capability of the field service technician, but augmenting them by taking away tasks that have been repetitive and mundane and replacing them with bots and machine vision capabilities that help them go through that in much, much better way, right? If you take a look at somebody like British Petroleum, they're using automated machine learning capability to build machine learning models to predict oil, gas, and reserves, and to make decisions on where to drill. So that would be around the predictive insights bucket, and so on. So there are many, many cases of where we have worked with organizations to enable that and make that a reality. Now, how does one go about thinking about it, right? Again, there are three different key steps that we think are absolutely critical in building an AI-powered organization. One is put AI into action, but just not for the sake of it. Make it meaningful, empower everyone, and act responsibly, right? The second is respond to today with AI. Solve today's challenges, right? And see how you're best augmenting and making a difference on how you're solving today's challenges with the most effective use of AI. And at the same time, think about laying a foundation of what comes next. Third, reimagine what is possible. And this is where we think about AI at scale and going from automation to autonomous ways of dealing with things. We have many different cases where we've actually used the Azure Cognitive Services and other predefined AI services that we provide to be able to, for example, have the automation of customer service, right? So break it down in those three buckets. Think about making it meaningful, empowering everyone, and be responsible about how that AI is actually put into use. And let me break down the first one in much more deeper depth here. So it breaks down to meaningful innovation, empowering, and being responsible. So what does it actually mean, right? To innovation for innovation's sake is pointless unless there is a direct and real connection to the business. And that's when the real digital transformation begins. So AI-powered organizations typically think differently and make decisions differently, right? So we have to plan with purpose. Alignment of strategic initiatives, AI capabilities, and employee motivation is absolutely critical to create AI value. Focus should be on those use cases that align to the strategic goals of the organizations and also match the technical solution to the skills and capabilities, right? Having done that, so you have a plan of where to go, then you have to think about how do I change my culture to be aligned with that strategic clarity. So cultivating the right internal mindset is absolutely critical to make this a success. And we learned this internally at Microsoft ourselves, right? We have done a whole range of work where we have taken a lot of information that used to be purely textual information, for example, customer surveys and the like, and we have actually transformed them into meaningful insight and action by using AI and ML tools. And we use this constantly as part of how we develop and bring new products to the market as well. So this is not an abstract thing. It's now part of the Microsoft culture, and it's part of our own cultural journey as well. right? So plan with the purpose for impact, right? So the intention here is to think about use cases that move beyond pilots, right? And that's absolutely critical. It's easy to get distracted by headlines of games and things like that, but the real value here is how do you glean that insight and put from large data sets to fuel very accurate predictions, and then think about how does that all deliver a meaningful business impact beyond just the pilot. You also have to have a good balance between what is short term and what is long term, because you need to get some quick wins into the system. And we find that often those quick wins come from being able to think about how you would automate an existing business process with the power of AI to drive much better results for the business user, right? Um, keep going here. And so, given that that's all straightforward, or at least looks straightforward on paper, what are the top barriers that we're seeing in terms of being able to adopt this at scale, right? The top barriers we have found are, this is based on some of the work that we had done along with other organizations. In this particular case, this source data comes from McKinsey. 43% of the cases, there's a lack of a clear strategy for AI. And the second one is the lack of appropriate talent, skill sets to work on this. So to be able to do that, again, like I said, we have to move beyond single use cases that only scratch the surface to defining an holistic AI focused strategy. And the best organizations that we have found and we have worked with do that in abundance. Now, so that's one pillar of it. The second pillar of it is how do you define an AI-ready culture, right? And this is absolutely critical. The data has to be at the center of the decision-making process, right? And that's absolutely critical, right? You need to foster and set up an environment where all of that insight is at the center of the decision-making. Second, you need to be thinking about empowering employees at every step of the way, right? And a lot of that also has to do with diffusion of knowledge about good, what does good look like, and how do people retool and retrain themselves to be able to have that transformative culture as well. We do a lot of this work with our customers, but what we also done is to take some of that work and put it together and make it available for everyone to consume in what we call as an AI business school, right? And so we have worked with business leaders, AI experts, professionals to understand what is really required. And through those very deep, candid conversations, we know what works, what doesn't work. And you can go to this short URL, aka.ms/AIBS, and you should be able to avail yourself of some of the things that we put out there, right? Over 1 million people plus have been already part of that learning experience from their executive peers, going into the case studies, putting those principles into practice by downloading the tools and the guides that are available there. So I would highly encourage you to go and take a look at that and think about how some of those might resonate with you, and look through what kind of technical architectures are backing those solutions as well. And next is the notion of, so there is knowledge, and then how do you bring that AI to everyone, regardless of the level of technical expertise or the nature of the technical work. So one of the studies that showed was the lack of availability of machine learning experts and scientists and the like to make some of these come to fruition. But what we have also found is that there is the growth of the citizen data scientists, where when non-technical people are able to leverage the benefits of AI, they become citizen data scientists. And only by encouraging all of those citizen data scientists across the organization can you truly unlock that power and potential of AI. And we find that repeatedly in every single customer. And it's a key tenet of how you would think about changing your AI and data culture. Here is one such example that we worked with, where we partnered with Publicis Group. They're like the third largest advertising and communications company in the group. And they shared our vision of being able to empower employees with AI, and are really committed to creating a truly borderless and friction-free enterprise workspace. So they took all of their siloed data systems across nearly 200 agencies, and we then helped them build a voice-capable professional assistant and mobile app called Marcel. So that's where the AI bit comes into play, both in terms of voice recognition, cognitive search, knowledge engineering, and the like, which then quickly connects them to colleagues with relevant expertise and transforms all of those different processes into quick and simple tasks. So this is absolutely the way to think about how you transform the employee experience and augment and enhance their experience with the power that AI brings into being. And the last bit is around being responsible. So as we deploy these systems, we need to be very, very clear about how we develop and how we deploy, and it must be guided by an ethical framework. Our own work in this being quite heavily guided by these 6 core principles of fairness, transparency, accountability, inclusiveness, reliability and safety, and privacy and security. For example, if you take the principle of fairness, AI systems should treat everyone fairly and avoid affecting similarly situated groups of people in different ways, right? It sounds straightforward, but it's absolutely critical that when we develop and roll these systems out, that we adhere to these guidelines and these principles, so that as you're building these systems out to scale, they're also making sure that they adhere to the core foundation for what is a responsible and trustworthy approach to AI deployments. And if you want to know more about that, visit our Responsible AI Center. We have guidelines and best practices there to help you anticipate and address potential problems over there. Uh, uh, for technical teams, we also have a Responsible AI Resource Center. You can go and take a look at it as well, and the links are in the window as well. And the glue that brings all of this together for our customer is the Microsoft Data Platform that allows you to bring data and AI together. And the ability that we have to have this kind of capability available for all skill levels. If you're a no code or you're somebody who likes to code, whether you're an analyst, beginner, or a data scientist, we have a way of making sure that that functionality reaches and empowers that particular person. If you're for example, if you're an analysis automated, a beginner and you're an analyst, and you don't necessarily have coding experience, we do have automated ML and UI-based tooling that helps you make that all come to being. So with Azure AI, we provide a range of services which are scenario specific. We have customizable models, and we have an ML platform. So the further lower down the stack you go, the more you would have to get into code and deep technical, and the higher up the stack you are here, the more you have pre-built services that you can readily use and snap to what you want to use, right? So I'll finish off by talking about the pre-built services that we provide. We have a range of them available for computer vision, custom vision, face, form recognizer, speech, language, and decision making. And one of the ones that we've seen the most rapid adoption in terms of empowering the organization to make use of artificial intelligence heavily is this notion of a form recognizer. It has been a very key part of being able to take the paper processes, put them through these automated form recognition tools, which then do bulk of the work of data entry from those paper processes as well. So it's been a very easy to use, rapid, quick win situation, where we are then able to provide rapid benefits to the end user. And it's literally, it takes a couple of weeks to get this going and getting it into production. So to close out, Let me come back to how I started. As you think about building an AI-powered organization, think of these in three different buckets. Think about what it takes to put AI into action, make sure it's meaningful, that what you're looking at is related to impact. Make sure you empower everyone in your organization with the benefits, and make sure you act responsibly. As you plan for impact, solve today's challenges by laying a foundation, and dream big and for reimagining what is possible. Um, the only way we can truly discover the limits of what is possible is to go beyond them into the impossible. One of my favorite authors, Arthur C. Clarke. With that, I will close, and I think we're right on time. If there are any questions, I'll take it. If not, I'll stop sharing right here.
Sure. Karthik, there is one question now. It's a very basic question though, which is Kuzoyo Takida is asking, could you please elaborate on from automation to autonomous?
Got it. So I've stopped the screen share, but when I mean from automation to autonomous, so the first step that people think about doing is fundamentally just replacing some amount of the processes with something that can be driven by a basic AI model, etc. Form filling is exactly one of those, right? So for example, in one customer that I'm working with, we are taking the paper processing forms, and then we are automating the process of being able to do the data entry. But we are now connecting them to AI models that automatically, in this particular case, the banking customer, think about credit modeling, risk scoring, etc., and automate the entire process of returning back to the customer with the result of that particular submission. So that's the journey to go from merely automating the mundane to using AI and connecting it back to an autonomous way of thinking about returning results and customer delight.
Sure. Thank you so much, Karthik, for giving us your valuable time and being a part of the World AI Show Jakarta. Thank you once again.
Thank you very much.